Okay, so welcome everyone. Just a reminder, test is tomorrow. Practice guides are due tomorrow. All late work is due tomorrow. Remember, it's end of midterm tomorrow. There is quite a few assignments out there. If you have not been that person that's been logged into Google Classroom, you are missing a lot of assignments. So you need to get logged in. I'll go through names at the very end after I turn off the camera and stop recording and whatnot. So I don't want those names on camera. But if you have not logged into Google Classroom to fill out, and submit homework, you are probably not passing by any stretch of the imagination. So don't act shocked. You know that all the homework is be submitted on Google Classroom since 3 weeks ago when I remind you every single day. So get them turned in. They're due by tomorrow night. After tomorrow night, I delete all the assignments out of Google Classroom and you can't submit them again. So keep that in mind. I've been updating them today. I'm getting annoyed that Google Classroom keeps making doubles of every assignment I have in the gradebook. It's annoying me right now. So just kind of ignore that for right now. But if you have been submitting homework, I'm going through it today. In fact, before you guys probably walk out of this room or log off, I'll probably be updating your grades again one more time for those who have been submitting stuff on Google Classroom. Because I've been noticing a lot of people have been submitting stuff yesterday and today. It gives me an email every time somebody submits something. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of emails. So make sure that you are getting stuff done, you're getting it turned in, make sure it's completed and attached correctly. That's the big thing that I'm noticing right now, is that probably the people that are turning stuff in, they're not attaching it correctly. They're just, they're just hitting submit and they're not actually putting their assignment in there. And then I can't grade it. I just say, I think you forgot to attach it, and I return it right back to you. Or if it's if it's a non-answer that even remotely makes sense, I just put a 0 and you can redo it at your own time. The beauty of doing Google Classroom is that you guys can have all of your homework still in your notebook. So you can go back and make a fix. If you want to know exactly what question you got wrong, I can tell you, and then you can go back and fix that one. If you have a ton of questions on the homework, maybe you're redoing some of the assignments, go back and watch some of the videos we did. If you go back on my website, mrward.org or ghvmath.com, you can go back and watch those videos from all those sections. Just click on the geometry at the top, the little daily lessons tab, and then you can go click geometry and go back and see all the days. There's a big list of sections there of work you can go back and you can watch the day. You can see what day I assigned that assignment. You can see what the video was. You can watch it. You can see the notes we took that day. Be using that. I shouldn't have to, answer too many emails about how to do something if you're actually actively using that video. So make sure of that. I don't want to have to go search my website for the video that you won't look up yourself. So make sure you're doing that as much as possible. It saves me time, it saves you time. You can do it on your own and see me teach it one more time. Okay, let's go through this. So yesterday we did the first half. If you were not here yesterday, you have to do the first half on your own now. The practice guide is on Google Classroom. You can see it. You can go open it up. I even included this morning, if you haven't noticed, I added all the pictures for every problem because some people were having troubles opening it yesterday. They were saying their Chromebook wasn't showing any problem. It would just say problem 1, problem 2, and it wouldn't have any work or any pictures. So I included all the pictures in Google Classroom as well, so you can open them up one at a time. If there's any question missing, just let me know. I think I have them all submitted there. All right, we're going to start today. We're starting with number 6, and we're moving on. I believe we finished with number 5 yesterday. So if you don't remember number 5, the question that we finished with yesterday, here it is. It was the graphing problem. That was one we did yesterday. Okay, we had to graph all those coordinates. That's probably still the same work we did yesterday. I haven't even changed it yet. So today we're going to start with number 6 and kind of work our way to the end. You have, 10 questions on this thing that we have to get through? Is there 10, right? If you looked at your online version, there was actually 11. Sorry, 11 questions. Let's get through them all. I'm going to go through these very quickly. If there's a question you have, if I'm going too fast on an explanation, that's the type of thing you should be typing in the chat. You should be firing out there, unmuting yourself, or for you guys in here, just raising your hands and figuring it out, asking questions. Okay, for graphing. If you don't recognize this problem, this is a slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Okay, it's already written in the perfect form. The b number in the back, this number, is your y-intercept. It's the y-intercept. It's where you hit the y-axis. Okay, and then the m out front, this number is your slope. So they didn't get real creative on the form. It's called slope-intercept form for a reason. That's what you're looking at here in your problem. You can see it. Y equals 4x, 4x plus 1. You can see your numbers. Your y-intercept is this number right here. So on the y-axis, you find 1 and put a dot there. Now you're probably thinking, Warren, I don't even have graph paper. Okay, for those in here, there's graph paper in the back, or just draw it. I'm expecting to see a lot of people with their notebook paper just doing this. This is what I probably expect to see. A lot of people just drawing a graph and finding the number 1 and putting a dot there. Okay, you're showing me that you know where to start. Now your slope, that is your number right here. How do I make that a fraction? How do I make the number 4 a fraction? Yeah, put a 1 underneath it, right? You can always put any whole number over 1, even a decimal over 1. If it's already a fraction, just leave it. And now I'm going to use that to go draw. So from my dot, my slope is rise over run. So in my case, I'm rising 4, running 1, and I always go to the right. So I'm going up 4 over 1. Up 4 over 1. And I can keep doing this over and over and over and over and over. And then you can see the line that I'm drawing. Again, if you're on your own notebook paper and you're like, Ward, I don't have graph paper, fine. Up 4 over 1. You can clearly show me that you know what you're talking about. That's bare minimum markings, and I can see that you know what you're doing. Like, look at that. Like, I can't get any easier than that if you're drawing it on your own paper. Questions? I would expect a problem pretty much like that. Something that you won't have to rearrange, you just have to show me that you're drawing it. Is there any questions from anyone at home or anyone in here about that problem in particular? Now, if that was negative slope, you drop and run to the right. So remember, the top numbers rise or run, and the bottom numbers always to the right. So, okay. So number 7. Now number 7, this could have been the problem that was sitting there in number 6. This could have been where you have to rearrange it. You have to get it into slope-intercept form. I have to get this thing to look like this. Right, that's the form I want to get it into. What do I need to move if I need to get the y by itself? Say it? Yeah, I need to move the x for sure. And what else? Somebody was saying something on my computer. What was the other thing?
Divide by 3.
Yeah, we'll have to divide by 3 at some point, right? And what was the other thing I had to move to? X and 10. Yeah, so those are all the things. So yeah, you guys are all saying all the steps we have to do, right? So we're gonna move the x over. I'm gonna move the 10 over in one swoop. Get rid of those first. What happens when I move them across? Yeah, they turn negative. So the 9 will turn negative, and that 10 will actually turn positive, right? Because they become the opposite on the other side. Because I want to get the y by itself. And then, just like we said, you have to divide by 3, right? We have to divide everything by 3. So dividing everything by 3, here's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get negative 9 over 3x, and I know that's negative 3. You can leave it a fraction, it's fine. And then we have 10 divided by 3. That's dividing everything by 3. Now, if I had to graph this thing, let's say this was the problem sitting in number 6. Well, if I had to graph this, I would actually have to start at this point, 10 divided by 3, which is 3.3 repeating. I would start there, and then my slope is 9 over 3, and it's dropping. It's negative. Drop 9, run 3. Now, if you want to simplify those things, you can do that. Maybe you want to make that x, the number in front of x, negative 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, right? Negative 3. You can leave that there. That's fine. I would just say leave them fractions. I'm fine with the part in blue. You want to leave that? Fine. You're good. Move on to the next one. You have it right. You just have to get it to slope-intercept form. You have to rearrange. All right, questions? Where's my lunch pail? I didn't realize it was sitting next to me. Okay, let's move on to the next one. All right, now This is one of the first assignments where you had to do some graphing, right? We had to graph systems, and you had to figure out where they crossed. I think this was section. It was 2.6, I think, where you had to graph equations and figure out where they're crossing. I think that was back. When was that? Like 5th of November, something like that. A couple weeks ago. All right, now, I made the first one on purpose. What do you recognize about that top question? Yeah, it was number 6 up above. I did that on purpose. We already graphed number 6, so you can go graph it again. We're going to start at +1. You went up 4 over 1, up 4 over 1. I made it the same problem just to start with. I think that was important. You get to see one that, like, we did that one earlier, right? That was where you had to start at 1, and then my slope was 4 over 1. So this where I started. That was my starting point. That was that dot right there. And then this is my slope, how I rise and ran. Okay. Now, the second equation. We're going to do that second one. That's this one. Notice how I'm rewriting that just so I can see. Where do I start on that problem? At 8. I'm going to start at +8 on the y-axis. That's my y-intercept, right? I'm going to start at 8. That is way up here. There's that dot at 8. And then I'm going to go down 3 and over 1. Because my slope tells me to drop 3, run 1 to the right. So down 3 over 1, you can see I'm hitting that dot right on top. Then I went down 3 over 1 again, and you guys can see where it's going. So where did they cross? What is that coordinate right where they met? 1,5. Yep. So the coordinate where they're crossing, when you list it, it's the right and left motion first. So I went over 1, up 5. That's the coordinate. 1 to the right, up 5. That's where they met. And you can see it. They landed right on top of each other. Now, for those at home, I can understand this is a tough problem. This is actually the one I'm the most worried about on the entire test for the people at home, for those testing at home. Because you don't have a graph paper, right? You're drawing everything by hand. And you're trying to make it as accurate as possible and trying to see where they cross. I'm going to let you know, like, this problem is going to be a nice clean number. It's not going to cross at some weird decimal. It'll hit a nice number. I'll make sure of it on test day. So remember, when you're at home testing, you'll just have a piece of paper out in front of you. Remember, the camera shot I want is where I can see your hands. I don't care how the camera's angled. I just need to see your hands when you're working. If your hands are constantly out of frame, then we have a problem. So make sure you have them always in front of you. If you have to get up and leave, you're done testing. So make sure everything's in front of you. The only thing you'll need at the very end of the test is to take a picture and submit it to me. Okay, questions? Okay, let's go to number 9. Okay, we got 3 problems left. We have this one, the next one, and then number 9. Okay, so this is a system. This was worksheet 2.8 part 1. This is the one that I think it was due last week. It was like last Wednesday or something like that. I think it was on the 11th or maybe 12th or something like that. This was due last week. We had to, instead of graphing, you had to use the elimination method on this problem, the system, and actually find where they actually met, where they crossed, without drawing it, right? So you had to show all the work. You know, you had to show me with the elimination method that you could do this. So when we do elimination method, you have to pick a letter. On this problem, what variable should you choose?
Y.
Good choice. We're going to pick the y's. The reason being, they're already the same number, and the beauty of it is that one's already negative. So I don't have to do anything to this problem. I don't even have to multiply by a number. I don't have to change negative signs, nothing. The letter you chose, the y, was already the same digit and one was already negative. That was perfect. So if we add straight down, what happens to the x's? No, x's stick around, they're 4. But what happens to the y's, whoever said it earlier? Yeah, the y's cancel, right? The y's are gone. And then 10 plus a negative 2, well, that makes 8. Nice and clean. Then, how do we solve? Yeah, divide by 4, and we get x is 2. That's going to happen. I'm going to let you know right now, the numbers you're going to have on your test will be nice, clean numbers. There'll be a bunch of different versions of the test out there for the ones in this room and other rooms and online. I'm going to have like 6, 7 different versions of this test. But I guarantee you, all the versions, there'll be a nice, clean number. So keep that in mind. Okay, now, what do we have to do with the 2? Plug it in. And it doesn't actually matter. On elimination method, it doesn't matter which one you plug it into. You can plug it into the top equation, you can plug it into the second equation. I'm just going to pick the top one, just kind of at random. Here's the top equation, and I'm going to plug that x that we just found. We found x is 2. I'm going to plug it back in. And then we'll solve. It didn't actually matter which one I chose. I just picked this one at random. So what I'm going to get is I'm going to get 6 plus 2y is equal to 10. I'll have to subtract the 6 across, getting 4. And divide both sides by 2, and sure enough, I get 2. Cool. So it's 2 comma 2. Works out to be nice numbers. I wouldn't expect that on test day, but you should expect nice numbers. They could be positive or negative, but if you get some weird decimal, you probably did it wrong on test day. You might want to go back and fix something. Maybe you multiplied by the wrong number. Maybe you forgot the negative sign and you're not getting quite canceled out. Maybe you added the numbers wrong. Who knows? Use a calculator for the love of God and check your answers. Before you use the calculator, clear it so you're not accidentally typing over what somebody else typed in. Okay, let's move on. And again, for those at home, if you need me to show a problem again, I can go back. Sorry. I'm not trying to ignore you. You're just not here to speak for yourselves, so just let me know. Okay, now this is a substitution method. This is the assignment that was just due this past Tuesday. This was worksheet 2.8 part 2. It was due this Tuesday, the 17th. So that'll go actually in the grade book as before you guys walk out of this room. That's one I said I'm going to update your grades. I'm putting that one in the grade book here in about 2 seconds. So after we're done with this, I'm literally going to enter it so you can see what your grades are up to date. Now this is a substitution method. So how substitution works, you have to have one of the letters by itself. And so I'm plugging this mess into the other equation. Now what letter is that stuff going into in the top equation? X, the letter that was by itself. So in that top line, this is the top equation, right? This is the top equation. Yes, I put a 1 in front of the X. There's always a number there. If there's a 3, just leave it there. But I'm going to take out the letter that was by itself. In that second line, I'm taking out the X because that was the letter that was by itself, and I'm plugging in the 3 plus Y into this spot. And then I'm going to solve. I'd multiply the 1 through, right, distribute the 1, so we get 3 plus 1Y minus 5Y, so let me write the Y there, equals 11. I have to move the 3 to the other side, so I'm going to have to subtract that over. So it makes an 8 over there. And 1y minus 5y. Negative 4y. And I'll have to divide both sides by the negative 4, so I'm going to get a negative 2 if I divide both by negative 4. So my coordinate that I'm getting a negative 2 for the y number. Now, what I've told you before, when you do substitution, this method, when you get your first number, your first answer, you need to always plug it into the equation that you circled, the one where the letter was by itself. I know you could plug it into either one. That was something we talked about in this class, right? You could plug it into either equation, it doesn't matter. But I would strongly recommend you plug it into the one that has the letter by itself, because it makes it a lot easier to solve. So if I took my y being a negative 2 and plugging it in, look at this. I don't even need to rearrange anything. This was the second equation. I just plugged my y in. And then I would solve. Well, 3 plus a negative 2, what is that? 1. So there's your coordinate. Questions? Okay, I would expect tomorrow when you do these system problems, no matter what version of the test, whatever numbers you have, they're probably going to be nice clean numbers. I'm not going to put decimals on it. So. All right. Okay, this is my last problem. All right, so if you can't see that, sorry. Honestly, Microsoft Word did not like the way that I typed that. I must put too many spaces there. This is the problem you're looking at. This is a truth table problem, a truth table. So what is the symbol that's in the middle there? Say it again. It's an OR. Yeah. It's a V, but it's an OR. It's a disjunction. It's an OR. Now, how I remember that? Remember, if it's an up arrow, it literally looks like an N in and. It literally looks like the N. And if it's a down arrow, it looks like somebody's writing a really bad R with a really bad tail. That's no joke. That's how I memorize it. An OR problem. Now, why that's important that you know OR. If you know it's an OR-based problem, a disjunction, the probability of it being true is really high. It's one or the other, right? So if one of them's true, it's true. Because that's how an OR problem works. So there's more likelihood it will be true. So that's how I think of it. So that's how I know, like in the end, I should have a bigger percentages for yes than for no. Now, we have to set up the table. How many columns will I need minimum? How many letters do you see? Two. You need at least 2 columns. A minimum of 2. You need a column for the B, column for the C. Now, I will also need another column. What is the other column I'll need for sure? Say it again? The answer. Well, I need the answer for sure, yeah. I agree with that. Duh. Definitely that one. But there's another column I'll need. Yeah, that negation symbol, that little like squiggly thing, the little tilde symbol. You need a column for that. If there's any tildes on your problem, like they're called negation symbols, you need a column just for that negation. Okay, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the true and falses for B and C. Every combination of true and false. So what are my possible combinations for B and C? You could both be true. What else? True, false. False, true, and false, false. They could both be false in the end. Okay? Now, the negation column. That's this column with the little squiggly. All you do to get this column is you look at the column with the C and you just give me all the opposites. That's what a negation is. What are all the opposite letters in this next column? False, T, false, T. You just switch the C column. That's a negation. You just do opposites. It's negating. And now for the last column, this is the one that really got the first class. To get this column, it's an OR. Remember that. This is an OR problem. All you do to get this column's answer, is you use the column for the B and you use the column for the negation of C. Because these are the 2 letters I'm looking at. I'm looking at this one. Better pick a different color. I'm using this column's answers and this column's answers. So I can ignore this one. It's gone. Don't care about it. I don't use it for my final answer anyway. It just helped me set up the negation column. So, for an OR problem, how do I know if it's a true in the very end? One of them has to be true. It's one or the other. So, let's compare. Are one of these true? Yes. Yes. Are one of these true? Yes. Are one of these true? No. Are one of these true? Yes. So, final answer here, final percentage. 3 out of 4 chances this thing's going to be true. That's 75%. 1 out of 4, it's going to be false, which is 25%. Again, how I'm getting those percents, you just divide. Hopefully that makes sense. I would expect on test day something very similar to this. I'm not going to give you something crazy complicated like I did this past Tuesday for the in-class problem I provided you, that you had to submit. By the way, that problem was graded, so if you did not submit the question from Tuesday, you missed points. So you might want to look back at that one and submit your answer for the truth table. So, all right, questions. Is there anyone maybe online or in here that I need to go back to? I can just leave it on the board for a little bit. Okay, now before people start logging off here, remember, this thing is going to be turned in tomorrow by 11:59. Maybe you're already done. You can take a picture of it, submit it to me today. Perfect, cool. It's due by tomorrow by 11:59. Test is tomorrow in class. So if you notice some of your neighbors are not here, I don't think we have anyone missing in this room, but if you're online, you need to be online on the Zoom, cameras unmuted, microphone unmuted, quiet learning environment, paper ready to go, calculator ready to go. And eventually you'll have to take a picture with your cell phone and submit it to me instantly. For those who are online, let's see, Wyatt was missing something, Darg, you're missing something, Trenton, I think you're missing one, unless you emailed me that one. Mackenzie Cole, you're missing quite a few, and then I think that was pretty much about it for the stuff that was due last week. This week's stuff will be online. It'll be online here in about 2 minutes, the stuff we had to do on Tuesday. So I'm going to enter that. So if you did not submit the homework for Tuesday, you're about to see an LI in the grade book. It's due by tomorrow night by 11:59. That's the latest I'll take them. Okay? All right, that's it. So you guys can log off. You guys are good to go. I'm going to stop the recording here. All the good stuff.